Well, hello, everyone. It is morning out here in California, but I guess afternoon on the East Coast. Thank you all for joining us. It is the top of the hour, and we are excited to bring you an advisor who has developed a niche that I think is actually something that all of you could develop yourselves. And that's why I think it's a particularly relevant and will be a really actionable webinar. And so I am going to just introduce myself very briefly, so I'm not doing all the talking. I'm Susan Theder. I'm the Chief Marketing and Experience Officer at FMG, and these are my social media handles. So I would love it if you haven't already connected with me, please do. And today we have Chevonne Farler, who is she's a wealth management advisor with TBH Advisors, and these are her handles. And today, what I'm hoping to cover is to have you walk away with some actionable ideas, inspiration, and some tips on how divorce and death can be, or life transitions can be, a niche that you really lean into and claim, how to do it, and also how FMG can help both with the marketing of that, as well as freeing up time so you have the time to develop that niche. So I'm going to start by asking Chevonne just to tell us a little bit about how, maybe from the time that you got into this business, what your thoughts were in terms of your client base to where you are now, and how you really transitioned from maybe serving all types of customers to developing this niche.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here today, and welcome to everybody. I've been an advisor since 2005, so 18 plus years. Currently at TBH Advisors. We're an RIA, and I absolutely love being here. After being in the industry for 18 years, I've seen a lot of different ways advisors have done their books of business, lots of trials and tribulations that clients have gone through. In my own personal life, my parents got divorced when I was a young teenager, and I will never forget. And during that time period in America, or at least down here in the South, the women got all the children and the men walked away with all the money. And my mom had been a stay-at-home mom, first grade school teacher for 20 plus years. She knew very little about investing, financial planning, and what to do with her money. And I'll never forget, as a teenager, her going, I don't know how to refinance my home. I don't know how to pay the mortgage. I don't know how to do any of these things. And as I developed into becoming a financial advisor, I really felt the calling that I never wanted another woman or person to ever feel the way that my mother felt, and to feel the way that I felt as a young child, not knowing how to help her. And so from that, I just really started leaning into, okay, that is a very traumatic situation, and death and divorce are some of the most traumatic situations that clients can go through. And it's one of the most hard financially to split assets. What are you supposed to do with your assets? How do you even do that? That I really wanted to start helping clients navigate that piece. And now over a third of my clients are either going through a divorce, are post-divorce, or blended families. And all three of those things have very unique challenges in the financial planning piece. So each one of those, I just kind of meet the client where they are and go through, okay, here's step one, here's what we need to be doing. Here's step two, here's step three, here's step four.
How did it happen organically, or did you just, you started to build your business, you were taking in any client that wanted, financial planning.
Right.
And then I'm guessing you started to, have a couple situations where there was a divorce. And at what point did you say, I think I'm going to just lean in and focus on this niche? And I think you have actually focused almost exclusively, but I don't think all advisors have to even do that to claim the niche. And at what point did you decide to be intentional about it? And then what did you do to kind of move your business in that direction?
Yeah, those are great questions. So about 2009, 2010 or so, I was working with a particular financial advisor here locally, And I just happened to notice that he was only meeting with the men. No offense to the men or women on this webinar, but I just happened to notice that this advisor was only meeting with the men. And so I made a comment to him, well, why aren't you including the wives? And he's like, well, because they're not interested in the financial planning, or they're not the financial head of house. And about that time was the same time Investment Advisor, now wealthmanagement.com, started releasing these studies showing that 70% of women will change financial advisors through either death or divorce because they view the financial advisor as being their husband's financial advisor. And so from there, I was like, well, there's a great opportunity. I don't want to work my tail off on getting all these assets only for them to leave because I've only been meeting with one part of the couple. So for me, the way that I run my business is you get one meeting with me with one spouse. After that, both spouses are required. And I just say that up front. Even if there's a financial head of house, even if there's one of the members of the couple is not interested, I tell them like it doesn't matter. I have to meet with both of them.
In that situation, so you focus on divorce and transition, life transitions to death, but you are also working with clients that are happily married and, just looking for it. So you have carved out a niche while also serving, general financial planning needs.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So when a client comes on, if they're married, I insist we meet with both people. If they're going through a divorce, I try very hard from the niche perspective to meet with clients before the divorce is final. Once the divorce is final, I'm kind of stuck by whatever they've agreed to. Mm-hmm. If the divorce isn't final, then I can work with the client on providing access to Monte Carlo simulations, projections, Money Guide Pro, eMoney, whatever you use for financial planning in your business. You can use those things to show what if they get alimony for life? What if they don't get alimony for life? Right. What if they get child support? What if they got a part-time job? You can run all those different scenarios. And the lawyers really like it because then they're going to the judge with actually equipped with information, or with the mediator equipped with the information to help negotiate. So I tell people, at least in the beginning of the divorce aspect, you're hiring the lawyer for law. You're not hiring the lawyer for financial advice.
Right.
So you really need to build out your team of having a lawyer and having a financial advisor.
And how so that all makes sense, but from the time that you kind of woke up and said, I want to be intentional about developing this niche and growing my client base in this niche, talk about, it's really, somewhat of a marketing strategy. How did from the decision to the execution and the reality of growing your business that way, how did that happen? And what advice would you give to everyone that's on this webinar, potentially looking to grow that niche?
So first, I got my centers of influence. So lawyers advocating for what I do, why I should do it. Secondly,
so that included just attorneys, or were there other centers of influence that you would recommend?
Yes. So there was also down here in the South, there's also something called a divorce there's companies that are divorce advocates, not advocates for the divorce, but advocates for the people going through the divorce.
And did you just call them? Did you email them? Did you drip on them? Like, what's the best? It's not as easy as just, hey, I'm an advisor and I'd love to work with all your clients. So what was the success to developing those relationships?
So I work with several around town. The first one actually was a client who went through a horrible divorce, and we both were like, there's got to be a better way. And so we kind of partnered together and helped her kind of springboard that part of it. The second piece of it, where I've met some other ones that run similar businesses, is actually through social media. So there's lots of moms groups or women's groups on social media, and I just joined as many as I possibly could. And I'm constantly every day there's people posting about it, and so I'm able to use the blogs from FMG. I'm able to use my website that FMG helped create for me, and I'm able to answer their questions. Obviously, I'm not a lawyer, but I'm able to direct them to some of the blogs, to the websites. And so it's just been a constant drip. I mean, over years, right?
Right.
And when you meet one person who's gone through a divorce, she probably knows someone else who's gone through a divorce, who knows somebody else, and you just tell them that you're open to helping and walking along that space with them. And it's more than just going, hey, here's your investment accounts. It's actually going, tell me about what's going on with you financially. Tell me about, are you wanting to sell your house? Are you wanting to, like, it's the whole kit and caboodle, from budgets, asset breakdown, it's everything. And getting her to kind of walk through that space with her. So it's from the COIs to the FMG drips to the blogs, and actively when I see somebody saying, hey, I'm thinking about divorce, responding and going, I'm willing to meet with you. I'm willing to just have a cup of coffee with you. I'm willing to hear your story. Just getting someone to share their story. In most cases, you're able to help in some form or fashion.
So the social media, let's dig into that a little bit more. I'm assuming that that's largely on Facebook.
Yeah, this particular one is largely on Facebook. I'm a part of several moms groups on
women
Facebook.
And moms groups, right? And how did you find them? Like, if you were to give advice to our attendees, how on Facebook, what would they search for and how would they join?
Well, here locally, it's like Nashville Moms Group. I mean, it's Williamson County Moms Group. It's pretty. You can just kind of start
moms groups.
Yeah, you just start searching for it. And, I'm also a part of several other geared towards college groups. And you'd be amazed about the number of people who post in those groups about divorce and 529s and how to fill out their it's just people post questions all the time. And I just always respond with, hey, I'd love to meet, love to have a cup of coffee. We can do a Zoom, we can do whatever.
Do you have to be a mom to join a mom's group? So would the men on this webinar be out of luck on that front?
I would assume so, probably, but hopefully the men on this webinar have an amazing female financial advisor that they could be an ally for and kind of help bring up along the side of them and request that they join these groups. At least in my experience, a lot of the women that,
or even just a staff member, just, that's a great point.
Because a lot of times these women have gone through some type of trauma. So it's better to kind of have
ally.
An ally. Yeah.
They're not loving. And it's generally the women that you're working with, right? So are the men of a divorce another opportunity?
They are. Most of the time it's women that do come to me, but you can do it on the male side. I've only had a couple in that space. Just from the way the divorces tend to go.
So social media, and so leveraging social media, and this is a question we get all the time, regardless of whether you're going after a niche or, everybody, I think, feels the need and understands that there's upside to posting on social media, to being active on social media. But then they're like, well, what do I post and what do I do? You are part of our Do It For Me marketing program.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much. We're thrilled to have you. Tell us how that has helped you in your business, and maybe describe it in your words to the attendees.
It's been huge for me. Nowadays there's not a yellow phone book, yellow pages anymore, right? When people have questions that it impacts their life, they're going to social media, they're going to marketing. So FMG and the Do It For Me program has been wonderful. I started looking at it about a year ago. We had a whole marketing plan of launching my website, all my socials, everything all at the same time at the beginning of the year. So 8 months ago. And I think I have an open rate somewhere between 50 and 70% of my emails that I utilize for you guys. I do tweak them a little bit, every now and then, but because I have such a great relationship, most of the time they sound like me anyway. So they go out. I'm particular about, it's got to fit my clients. And so I would advise any advisor on the call to make certain whatever you're using fits for you and be impactful and strategic about it. So I don't always send everything. It's got to make sense for my client base, but it has freed up so much of my time because I'm not the one having to do every little piece of compliance. I'm not the one having to write every single word. I can just talk to Susan and go, hey, I'd like a blog that goes XYZ. And she's awesome at being able to do that.
Yeah.
And having the marketing team has been huge, from scheduling out the social posts, scheduling out the blogs, connecting it to my website. All of that packaged together has alleviated. I don't have to worry about it. It's having a team that does everything for me.
And I'm just going to share this so that you could maybe talk through this. This might have, I feel like this was maybe last October. Well, this is an old one. So a year ago, but for those that aren't familiar with the Do It For Me program, Chevonne is leveraging. I am actually coming up with, based on advisor feedback. So every month it's getting better and better. And I'm reflecting what advisors are asking for in the next month's calendar. But I'm thinking about what 3 blog topics would be great for that month. And then I'm writing emails that are correlated with that blog, and I'm versioning them, one for clients, one for prospects, and one for centers of influence. So the voice is different. I was an advisor. I've been working with advisors for 30 years. So I hope I am able to mirror that authentic voice, but we really encourage all of our clients to make edits just to personalize it. So what happens is this calendar goes out to our Do It For Me customers. And then I also do about 20 to 25 social posts, and I'm creating about 10 of them. I'm trying to get to more and more, where I'm almost writing it in a Mad Lib format, where the advisor just has to fill in their details. So imagine a post about philanthropy or volunteering. I'm writing it with, little parentheses, fill in, a quick story about the last time you volunteered, fill in the number of years you've been volunteering. So just little Mad Lib, and then a suggestion for what you could put as the photo, so that these become really turnkey, but totally authentic and personalized. And then we also are doing a podcast script off of the blog and social posts off of the blog. And most recently, we've added Y charts content. So that was a lot to go through, but what we do is send the calendar out. Chevonne and our customers receive it 2 weeks before the start of the month, and they go through it and decide what they want to send, what they'd like us to. It's all we do it for them, but they choose which ones they want to go out, which ones they don't want to go out, which ones they want to customize, which ones they want to edit, and so on. So how has this made a difference for your business? Because you've been growing this niche for a long time. You've been growing your business for a long time. How has this made a difference in, I guess, your marketing and in the growth of your business?
Well, before FMG, I was having to write everything myself. In the past, I've done podcasts and stuff, and I've had to write all of the scripts myself and get it compliance approved myself and go through that entire process. But now with FMG, I'm able to say, they give me the choices of all these topics, and I get to open it up and go, okay, yeah, that does sound like me. That is me. Or I can tweak this to make it sound more like me. I'm not having to write every and the is like, and especially because my skill set is really being in front of clients and building those relationships with the clients. And so it frees up my time to be going, okay, I've got my marketing team working on XYZ behind me, and I'm able to go meet with these clients more. And I take the calendar, actually, I have it on my desk right now. I don't kind of blurred out. I have it on my desk right now for September. I'm going through it, picking what I want to use, what I don't want to use, what works, what,
and I'm some of the content, like, so you're looking at it in September. What are some of the pieces of content that you were excited about and are going to use? And what are some of the ones that you're opting out of?
Yeah, so I really like the September effects, the blog, social media posts, and the email.
Does everybody know what the September effect is? And by the way, the September effect was straight suggestion from one of our Do It For Me customers who just emails me every time he has an idea, which is great. And I welcome that. So I didn't know what the September effect was. Did you already know what that was?
I did
Okay.
actually, but
And then
a
everybody
lot of
probably
times,
does.
but clients don't. I was at a meeting in Knoxville, Tennessee last week with some clients, and we were talking about the October surprise. Like a lot of
Yeah.
times people are really known about the October. And we were actually talking about September and the history of September and what to be expecting going into September. So while we know it, and there's lots of things we know as
Yeah.
advisors, but there's some things that clients may not know. And so just having those getting in front of the client and telling them, hey, this is what nobody has a crystal ball, but this is what we can kind of be expecting moving forward, or what the latest economic trends are. I really like the weekly insights and the monthly market videos. Those are incredible. I like those hands down the best.
And are you sending all it, like when you see a piece you like the September effect, you're I'm assuming you're utilizing the emails and sending those to clients, prospects, and now centers of influence, their version to speak to those different audiences, and then social. And then do you with social, are you sharing it on some of the groups on Facebook? Just as like, hey, just an FYI, you might be interested, or some of the more lifestyle ones where we're talking about, how to help a kid budget when they go to college or something like that?
Yes, so twofold. I'll share the social one that's on my Facebook page, on my business Facebook page. I'll share that on my personal Facebook page. In regards to the moms groups and different groups I'm in, I usually don't just share something. I wait for someone to ask a question, because there's constantly people asking questions. And then usually my blog or my website or whatever is the answer to whatever they're, yes. And so it's a way to go, hey, here's kind of the answer. Happy to, talk through this more. Happy to, I try to, or I'll say DM me and we can, talk about it, whatever. So I usually wait in the moms groups to use that as an answer versus just putting it out there. Because in a lot of the groups, they're very, you don't want to come across salesy. Like
Totally. Actually, you don't want to come across salesy ever. That is our whole philosophy, is you're just imparting valuable information that you are pretty confident your target audience is going to appreciate. And if you do that consistently over time, your business will grow. I had a question that was not on marketing, but I thought it was interesting. Do you have minimum assets, and do you have alternative fee structures?
So that's a great question. So I don't have account minimums. I have been at firms in the past where that was a requirement. The firm I'm at right now, it's not, and I don't do that. And part of it is, in where I live, people don't think that they're wealthy. So even though I live in the wealthiest county in the state of Tennessee, but if everybody's wealthy, then nobody's wealthy, kind of that mindset.
Yep.
So that would be, the women would view that as being,
right?
It would be a huge turnoff.
But so you're not just charging on AUM, because then you wouldn't make any money on some of the lower clients. So how do you structure your fees?
So I don't take on everybody. If someone comes in, and even if it's a divorcee that fits in my niche, but it's not a good fit for my business for a lot of different reasons. I don't like the person. I mean, that could be a real, like,
totally.
I whatever it could be, then I may say, hey, here's some advice. Here's a lawyer. Here's another financial advisor around town, or, because I know everybody, kind of gently, nicely direct them in the other way. So I do charge assets under management. I'm very open with the clients that if there are assets at play, that I'm providing these services under the assumption that the assets are going to come to me. So I have one client who it took about a year before her, $500,000, $1 million came over.
And during that period, were you charging a retainer?
I was not, because she had agreed to that her assets would come over. And I felt pretty confident. I knew that she was.
Yep.
If there's a client that for whatever reason doesn't have assets that to bring over, I do charge an hourly rate. And I am very open about that, they'll get their first meeting with me, coffee, meeting, whatever is completely complimentary.
Yeah. Complimentary.
Thank you. Um, but then after that, I have to protect my time and my business too.
And
so I just,
is it a check, or do you use one of the softwares that enables you to use a credit card? Getting into the nitty gritty, but I'm curious.
yeah, a little nitty gritty. So because of my firm, it has to be a check. Like I checked with my compliance department on how that particular process is, and I just follow what they have told me to do. So in my specific situation, I invoice the client the invoice, and then they write a check, and then that goes to my internal grid to get a little nitty gritty. But
speaking of compliance, have you started to use, and does your compliance department allow testimonials?
So we've talked about that because that's you're allowed to do that now. After being in the industry for so long, I'm a little bit gun shy with it. I've had several clients in the last few months say they want to do do them for me. But I've been nervous about it. So until I get I need to have more conversations with compliance about it to kind of get over that, because I have people willing to do it.
Yeah, I would say for everyone on this call, have a conversation with your compliance department to understand their policies and procedures, or whether it's something they even allow at this point. But if they do, I would encourage you to get comfortable and start wading in the testimonial waters. FMG has a turnkey web page that can be created to house testimonials. So you have testimonials in your navigation, and most compliance departments that I have talked to that do allow it, and it's not all, you're just, as long as you are getting permission from the client and you're getting that testimonial approved by compliance, they're comfortable with it. And then obviously we can expand beyond that to, getting Google reviews and all that. But social proof is one of the best ways, especially in, I think, your niche, to grow your business. And you likely also have really raving fans at the end of, having helped them. There's nothing that, probably creates a stronger relationship from the start. So for anyone that's looking to develop this niche or is already in it, without even maybe intentionally claiming it, I think that's something to look for.
Yeah, well, I'll have to do that and get with you guys about that. Absolutely.
About webinars. Do you do any webinars? Or are you thinking about it? What do you think? Does that fit your business model or not really?
So I've talked about it specifically with my divorce advocates that I was mentioning earlier,
Yes.
about doing some joint webinars and kind of partnering together, just having kind of a coffee talk about what they're seeing, what I'm seeing, how we can work together as a team with their lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
We've had some scheduling. They wanted to do it right in the middle of tax time, and I'm like, I can't do it in the middle of tax time. That is on the horizon. I hope to do that in 2024 to get more webinars. I know that there's several in the FMG. There's tons of webinars in a box. I just need to. It's one of those things, since I just launched my website, like I can't do all the things at one time. So
I call it an ascendant journey, just keep checking off things. And as you go up that journey, and you can't do it all, but definitely having a modern, clean website that you're proud of, that really reflects your brand and your personality and speaks to who you serve, that's key. If you don't have that, I highly recommend that you think about updating your website. And then it's getting these ongoing communications across all channels, right? It's the social, it's the email, it's the blog, super important, super time consuming. And then, you can layer on webinars and podcasts and things like that. I wonder, with webinars, as you said, you have this niche, but you also serve, families and all that. With webinars and prospecting, I imagine that would be more to build your general business, because I'm thinking, like, what would be your prospect list? It's not like there's a tickler list of people that are, anticipated. Like, you can't pull a list on maybe they'll get divorced. So so some of your marketing, I assume, is more general.
Right, absolutely. So some of it, it's just letting the word out and talking to people. They don't teach this stuff in schools.
Yeah.
So it's really talking about like right before August, back to school season. Susan and I've talked about this. Back to school season here in the South has already happened. So like the first few weeks before August happened, I was really working with a lot of my families who were sending kids off to college. And I was doing one-on-one conversations with their college-age children, with their adults on the phone as well, talking about financial planning for now in the life stage that they're at.
That could have been a great webinar instead of having all those one-on-one, right? So for next year, I have people are asking for your website URL.
Yes. So it's farlerwm.com. So it's F as in Frank, ARLERWM as in wealthmanagement.com. And so, yeah, and I saw someone, I want to make certain I accurately or effectively answered the question about how I do my fee structures. I was trying to glance through the chat and making certain I answered that.
It was, I mean, it's to repeat back really quickly. I think you do charge an AUM fee for some clients, and generally that's your longer term strategy, but you also have a retainer model, which is an hourly fee that you charge by invoicing and getting a check.
Yes, and I will say one thing about the invoicing, something I've learned the hard way. So I'll give this.
Yes, lessons learned are always appreciated.
Is because especially if it's someone that's going through the divorce, they're in a trauma, fight, flight, or freeze type of mode. And I have found the best way to invoice is actually on a weekly basis. So my assistant and I go through on a weekly basis and we build that. I know it's more time consuming on our side, but to get for someone on a monthly basis to get $1,000, $2,000 bill, whatever the bill is, they're going to go, oh my God, because they're going to forget that you just spent 2 hours with them going through whatever it was. So if you do it on a weekly basis, they're more likely A, to remember what you did for them, and B, to pay.
Exactly. So you have the Do It For Me marketing calendar to work with. Maybe describe both using that calendar and what you supplement on, from your own efforts. Describe a month of marketing activities to this group.
Well, my foundation is the Do It For Me calendar. I start with that. So for September, I'm a little bit behind. I should have done it last week, but I'm doing it this week. So I'm outlining everything that I want the, computer system to automatically send out for me. That's the first thing.
The marketing specialist.
The market, yes. Right. And then
we'll get back to that because that's kind of a nice thing. You have a dedicated marketing person, which is good.
Yes, which was actually the second piece that I was going to talk about. So I meet with her on her name's Amy. She's amazing. I meet with her once a month for 30 minutes, and she keeps me on task because I get a little talkative.
You have other things.
And so she reminds me, okay, Chevonne, you need to do XYZ. She's also wonderful about going, hey, this is what other advisors around the nation are doing. Have you considered this? Are you having any struggles? Let's look at your open rates. Are you hitting anything? What things are successful? What things are, we kind of talk through that. She's amazing to have that kind of accountability piece.
Yep.
And to have that brainstorming piece. So first is the foundation of the calendar itself. Second is meeting with her. And third is actually, foot on the ground, pavement, talking to people. The person that I talked to yesterday was a prospect that came from doing all these drips and all the marketing campaigns.
Really? Awesome.
Yes.
So you just had been emailing them and they emailed you back?
Yes. And she's actually going through a divorce. At the end of the conversation, she said, she goes, do you know if I give your name to so-and-so? I know someone else that's going through this.
Wow.
So I don't ask for referrals because that's salesy. I just make certain that every experience that I provide to a client, they're left with going, you know what? She has my back.
Absolutely.
And I know someone else that needs Chevonne in their corner. And totally. So that's my third way. And then the fourth way is through all the hands-on interactive piece for them social media.
Excellent. So it's almost, and I might be putting words in your mouth, but so before Do It For Me, I'm guessing time was a challenge. So what do it for you has enabled you to do is all the content is out there and you just get to tweak it, in 5 minutes to make it totally, perfect for you. And that frees you up to do more conversations, more outgoing, engagement on social with these groups and engaging with other centers of influence and prospects on any of their channels, so that essentially I think you told me once, it was just magically turnkey, so that you freed up all your time to do the things that you wanted to do that only you can do, that
That's
you
right.
didn't have time to before.
That's right. That's right. And a lot of it's just listening to the clients, because I don't have to worry about doing all the things that do it for me is doing for me,
Yeah.
right? I don't have to take the brain capacity to do that. So I can see things that I couldn't see before, like making certain, if I know someone's coming in and they're going through trauma, either death or divorce, something as little as having Kleenexes in the conference room is huge. Obviously, I don't want my clients to cry, but usually they start crying because they're revealing, money can have had a painful experience for them.
We've got a
And
good question coming in.
what
So
is it?
your firm has its own website, TBH, and then
Yes.
you have your website. We're getting a question about another advisor who's in a similar situation. They haven't quite pulled the trigger because they were nervous about having something on their own that's separate from the firm's main website. Advantages, disadvantages of creating your own website separate from your firm's.
Yes. So first you have to talk to compliance. You have to make certain that your firm allows it. That's step one. And I did that 6 months before I even was doing anything. I wanted to make certain that I crossed all my T's and dotted all my I's. The second thing was making certain that I'm very fortunate because I've worked in the banking space. As a wealth management. I've worked for, I've worked at a lot of different places over the 18 years. So being in the RIA space allows for a lot more flexibility with that, and that the partners here, my partners, understand what I'm trying to build. And they even say, you're planting seeds now that are going to grow in the future. So I don't have quotas. I don't have sales minimums. I don't have any of that, because they understand what I'm trying to grow. And so that would be this compliance, make certain your people understand what you're going
Firm
to
is
do.
supportive.
Yes. And then third is I hired FMG actually, and I talked a lot with Caleb, my website creator, about what I was wanting, what I was needing. Are they, I helped pick the pictures. So they're all local pictures. The feel that I was wanting, I didn't want people to go to my website and be like, oh, look, here's Chevonne, and here's and it's all about me. I wanted to make certain that my clients understood it's not about me, because it's not. It's about them and their journey and their money. And so I actually need to probably add a picture of me on my website, because there's not one.
You should absolutely have a picture of you on your website. I
don't have it because I was so adamant about, I want the clients to know that it's about them. So I need to.
They also want to connect with who they're going to be working with. And I think, the words do a lot to articulate that it's about them. And that's a huge tip for everybody that's on this webinar. If your website copy talks about you and your services and we do, as opposed to we enable, or we make our clients feel, or our clients are family, like just flipping it to be talking about them, how your services impact their lives is so much more powerful than just describing your services. But having pictures, like real authentic pictures, not like, super stiff, does do a lot. I'm getting some great questions coming in.
Yeah.
What are the ways that you communicate with your clients? Is it different than how you communicate with prospects?
Ooh, that's a good one. So FMG has, for the emails, it's a client one, it's a prospect one, and there's some slight changes on that. I will say for me, because I'm very high level and high service, so I reach out to all of my clients via email personally once a quarter. So they will get, on top of all the other emails, they get something from me that says, "Hi, Susie, how's the new grandbaby?
I love that. That
Like,
is brilliant.
how was your trip to Italy? Let's grab a cup of coffee next month." Like, I try to
Yep.
very targeted. And then for the prospects, it depends on where I am in the drip cycle on them, on whether or not that's on a monthly, quarterly, or semi-annual. It kind of depends on where they are in the cycle.
Yep.
If they're true prospects, not prospects that are becoming onboarding, because that's different.
Yeah.
But
And I would recommend, my 2 cents on that is, if you have a prospect's email, if you have a prospect list, which I also typically get a question, how do I build a prospect list? You build a prospect list with posting blogs on social, posting blogs on your website, and having a form that is compelling, not just, a contact us is great, but also, schedule an appointment, you have content that's worth, downloading, or videos or things like that. But once you have that prospect list, there is no downside to dripping on them. You want to stay top of mind. And
yes,
that's, I think, one of the challenges that hopefully Do It For Me solves is it requires content. It requires valuable content that they would enjoy getting, as opposed to spam. And you're just staying in front of them, I think, is probably one of the best ways.
absolutely. So I use the Do It For Me in that space and the content that FMG provides. And then I do the same customization of like, hey, it's been, 3 months, or it's been a few months since we last connected. Last time we talked about XYZ, how's the new business going? Would you like to grab a cup of coffee? Would you like to, whatever? It's just that constant dripping of reaching out to them, and reaching out in a personal way, because people are smart. They know the FMG stuff is like people know.
Yes. And the FMG, so for Do It For Me, we only have 300 customers. It's super, super small and exclusive. And the content is written to, look very authentic from you, but it looks clearly like you've sent it to all your clients. It doesn't look like mass marketing, but they know it's not one-to-one. It's what most advisors do. I mean, you're sending a interesting article, or like the Fed raises rates and something goes haywire. You're sending something out to all your clients that says, here's what's happening. And then because you don't have to do that, it frees you up to do the one-on-one stuff, which is magic.
That's right. That's right. And even over time, I mean, people remember that. They remember, hey, she reached out to me for, my own, especially with a prospect, at least in my area, a lot of them already do have financial advisors. So they're going to remember, hey, wait, so-and-so didn't never reach out to me asking about XYZ. They didn't she remembered that I started a new business. She remembered that I'm going through, this with my father, with my aging parents. And she sent me this article.
More than almost anything, but staying in front of them, gives you the right to hopefully, create that bridge to speak to them. And then you try to extract information that you can use to surprise and delight. Speaking of which, do you use the new client onboarding campaign that we wrote for Do It For Me?
Yes. So I do use it. I did customize it because I think it's like a 6 or 7 series of emails, and some of them didn't quite fit the order that we do things. I also added in there the online access, because I want people jumping to my website of farlerwm.com and then we clear through Fidelity and then going through the login page to Fidelity. So part of the onboarding series is an online access instructions that Amy helped me write, and it looks all pretty, and so that's part of it. And then for each client, I'll tell her, okay, for the onboarding series, I want to do 1, 4, 8. Like, I'll tell her which ones fit for each client, and she takes care of it. It's awesome. I just tell her what, it's like having an in-house marketing. Yes.
That's awesome. We are getting a question about whether you do client appreciation events, and if so, how often, and does FMG help?
So I've been at this specific firm for a year and well, January of 2022, in all full disclosure. So at one of my previous firms, we did a lot of client appreciation events.
What
I
do you
wasn't
think
in
is the
charge of.
what's the right mix of that? What do you think?
Yeah, I thought there was too many, because you kind of skirt on the, ooh, come get a free steak and I'll tell you all about annuities. Like I
Oh,
don't,
not those. No,
not those, not
the
those.
plate liquor ones. No.
Yeah, right. And for whatever reason, AARP has my birth date wrong, so I get invited to those all the time.
Oh, that's so cute. Oh, you know what? We just had our advisory board for DIFM last week, and Chevonne, you were on it, and I'm not sure if you had to leave before we got to this, but one of the advisors asked me to write a survey regarding client events so that they could send it out in November relating to the events that would be of most value and interest for the coming year. So I wrote a whole survey and I brainstormed every idea that I've heard that has worked, that are not the plate licking dinner things, the bringing a photographer to a beautiful park and having food trucks and inviting families to bring their broader families or pets and have professional pictures taken that they could use for their holiday cards or something like that. So there will be a survey that you can send out and it also asks about the frequency, and it asks whether they prefer in person or virtual. So that's just another idea came in, and we'll do it. So maybe you send out that survey.
Yeah, I'll send out the survey. In the past, I've done everything from on Earth Day doing barbecue shred-its, where everybody brings their shredding. Like I've done,
I'm so surprised that people want to the shred event. We have a shred event built on the FMG platform. It is one of the most utilized, and I have to say, I'm like, don't people have their own shredders? But people like to bring their papers to shred, don't they?
They do, and I think some of that is you got to know your clients, right? So depending on the age of your clients, you're also going to know whether or not, like, my under 50s aren't going to have a lot of paper, right? No. Like you just kind of have to know your market.
Oh, we got a feedback from one of the attendees, says they do a shred fest every year and clients love it, open to the community. Another one that's coming up is I've heard tons of advisors have success with pie giveaways where people have to register. So you get prospects that might actually, fill in their information. Granted, if you're giving away a free pie, I'd put, less qualified prospect than attending one of your webinars, but clients love it too. So that's another one that's fun.
I've done the shred-its. I've done big, my firm's going to do a big holiday party, Christmas party. We've already booked it. We've already so we do a variety of different things. I will say for where I am right now, I'm truly focusing on more of the one-on-one sessions with my clients. Yep. Particularly because I've got so many going through very traumatic divorces.
It's not like get them in a group, and I mean, you're not. That would given that niche. I don't see having it.
They're not in the party type of. They're not in that capacity, and I have a very large section of that. Right now. And so I just kind of do it in waves. For instance, a couple of years ago, a local lady she's very famous for her private garden, and she was having a private garden party.
Oh, that sounds great.
One of my divorcees was considering getting back into gardening because she couldn't do it when she was married. And so I personally took her to this private garden party. So I try to be
That's what I call creating referable moments. I'm guessing you've already gotten referrals from her.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yeah. So, I know my biggest client told me that they were going to a bunch of events this week. And so I just made certain that I was also at those events once they told me what they were,
Nice.
It's just being strategic. So where I am right now, that's kind of my direction, but I will say in the future, I'll probably add more of these other events back in. I have two offices that are, about 10-15 minutes apart from one another. So that they have very different feels and, different kind of spaces in them. So that adds to it too. So yeah, you just have to do what's best for you and your clients, and knowing what's going to be the most impactful for your client. I'll use, this is really silly, but was supposed to meet with one of my top clients a couple of weeks ago. She texted me and said that her car wouldn't start. And I had one of those power banks. I don't know if anybody has those power banks in their car that you don't need jumper cables. It's just a power bank.
No.
And I was like, well, I've got a power bank and I want to meet with you anyway. I'll just come jump your car. And so
Oh my God.
I went and jumped her car and we had our financial meeting. Like,
That's amazing. I will say, I mean, I'm glad that the Do It For Me program has really helped you expand, enabled you to do what you do best. But for sure, these little special things that you do are the magic that really, propels you. You have to have that constant content drip to be able to engage with clients, remind them, keep top of mind and build that prospect database. But the magic that really drives the greatest referrals, I think, are these special moments that you do, and having the time to do them is what's important. As you think about 2024, I know it's ways off. I'm probably jumping the gun a little bit, or even just Q4. What is the next marketing tactic you want to tackle?
Ooh, that's a great question. So one of them is I need to refine my groups in FMG a little bit more, to be a little bit more targeted to, I right now I just have clients, prospects, centers of influence, just like everybody does, right?
Yep.
So one of the things I'm going to add is currently going through a divorce. Because I want those people to get specific things at specific times. And so kind of utilizing my
segmentation
in a different way.
What CRM do you use?
My firm is in the process of converting over to Salesforce. So, which I've used in the past. So easy peasy. So we're right in the middle of that kind of conversion. So right now, because we're in the middle of it, I've just been relying on Outlook, which is a little bit old school, but it works. That's
a great thing. I think I'm curious I'm going to type how many of you do detailed segmentation. I think that's something I would guess, if we're 70% of advisors probably could refine their segmentation or dust it off. I think most do client, prospect, centers of influence. Some get into ABCD clients and others, have gotten into age-based, but the magic is in refining those, the tighter your message is designed to the target audience you're communicating with, the more effective. So that's a great tip sort of for that, as you move up that marketing journey, that is a great thing to tackle next. I think you'll find rewards from doing it.
Yeah, so that's one of my big ones.
Anything else?
Well, I mean, we're financial advisors, right? So I have financial goals that I'm wanting to reach of new assets each month.
Speaking of, do you have specific, do you feel like Do It For Me and the marketing that you're doing with FMG has had a business return on investment? And if so, how would you describe it?
Absolutely. And that was actually when I first started working with FMG, I was quite clear with Caleb and everybody and Amy and Aubrey and everybody going, okay, no offense, this is what I'm paying you guys. This is the return I'm needing, right? Just like with our clients, they're wanting a certain type of return on their investments, right? This is what we do. We do math all day, right? That's what we do. So, yes, I absolutely had a huge impact. I had someone, a friend of mine who I'd lost contact with over 20 years, and through all the social media posts and stuff, it sent me to my work email. So that's the only way she would have gotten it. Going, hey, am I right in thinking you help people going through a divorce, figuring out their finances and stuff? And I'm like, yes, absolutely. And I haven't talked to her in 20 years.
Wow.
And so I had met with a prospect yesterday who, from all the dripping and everything, it has had a massive impact. Now, again, especially in the divorce process, or even death, right? Like if somebody passes away, it's about 18 months before the entire everything is settled and all the
Right.
dust is
Yep.
settled and everything. And divorce takes some time too. So again, I am very fortunate to work with a firm where they recognize I'm planting these seeds that I may not see, the fruition of the assets coming over for another 6 months, 9 months, a year, depending on what the situation is.
What percent of your new customers are just, what I'd call general financial planning versus this niche of death or divorce?
That's a great question. I would say probably 80% of my new clients are divorce or death.
Wow. And
Of my new clients,
3 years ago?
maybe 10-15%.
Wow. So that's how fast just really intentionally focusing on a niche has changed your business.
Yes, yes.
Well, I think on
And
that, oh, keep going.
well, and also focusing on meeting the clients where they are in their journey, like
Mhm.
telling them it's okay. You don't okay, so you don't know how to pay your cable bill. That's okay. We'll figure it out.
I don't
Like,
even-
well, but I know, but I'm just using that as an example.
No,
Like,
it's very
okay,
true. Like, I mean, we have, divisions of responsibility, and it's a lot to suddenly take on things that you've not had to do.
right. Or, helping with the lawyer, like if we're requesting alimony, sometimes the lawyers forget to put life insurance in the MDA. And I'm always there going, no, 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 we need life insurance. What if your ex-husband dies before your alimony is paid
Right.
out? We need
Right.
life insurance in there. Or let's say they're refinancing the home, knowing, oh, you need to put in there, you've got 15 months because we're going to count alimony as income for 12 months and then 3 months for like all these little things were really helping the clients go through it. And then unfortunately, 60% of marriages fail. And I will say my husband really struggled when I got into this industry he's like, well, you're helping people get divorced. I'm like, no, no, they're going to get divorced with or without me. I'm just helping them come out the other side, hopefully not being on the street, like, and knowing that somebody's in their corner. Because if someone had done that for my mother or for me, just the impact that would have had in our lives would have been massive. I mean, so I want to pay that forward. I want to help other people in that space.
Well, we are at the top of the hour. I really have enjoyed speaking with you. And I know based on all the questions we're getting that everyone has enjoyed hearing your story and your advice. And I think has walked away with many, many good ideas that they can leverage in their own business. This is a QR code for anybody that's interested in learning more about any of FMG's offerings, including the Do It For Me program. And we will be sending a recording of this for anybody that would like to replay it or share it. And Chevonne, thank you so much for being with us. And I wish everyone a great rest of your day.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.